components have to do with language, using translation, and the power of all the content on the web to really improve search, and personalization, which we think that the search engines of the future will be better in part because they understand something about you, where you are, who your friends are, what your preferences are, what searches you've been doing, what you're an expert in. So those are sort of the 4 key components, and most of our launches can be classified into one of those categories.
All right. And I'm sorry, are all these people taking pictures of me, is this distracting? It's funny, they weren't here this morning taking pictures of me on my other panel, but now they just can't stay away from me. So. Okay, so one of the questions about last year, one of the allowed questions that I have where I get to poke at you a little bit. Google Search Wiki was the big thing last year, and it wasn't even technically your product, I don't think, but I never liked it. Actually, some people did. I just did not like that. We talked about this last year. You gave us an off button, thank you. But can we just now get rid of it entirely?
Well, we are getting some edits that we find useful. I do think we will be looking to morph the product and make it more powerful and more integrated.
Yeah. So
we're looking at changing the user model a bit.
And by morph, you mean kill?
No, I mean morph. But
so one of the announcements you made this week that I found the most interesting was the taking a picture of the Eiffel Tower or whatever, and Google telling you what this is. And obviously you're using, I assume that you're using location data to some extent to help yourself out. But the idea of you finally indexing, is indexing the right word when you're sort of looking at something that isn't text, picture, video, audio, and telling us what's in it. So Google could look at whatever video is being recorded of this right now and just know that's Marissa Mayer and Michael Arrington in it. How far away are we from like that? From like really you just looking at all the world's information, not just the text information?
Sure. Well, what we're doing with Google Goggles, it has a little bit to do with indexing. Indexing is really how do we catalog and account for all the information we could return. But with Google Goggles, they are looking at image recognition. And yes, they do have some element of location. But there's sometimes if that location doesn't help. Actually, Vic's example during the event was he took a picture of a wine bottle label and it figured out what wine it was, did a search for that wine, and told them that it had hints of apricot and hints of his hibiscus blossom.
Did it use OCR?
And so it does some OCR, but it also can recognize the overall logo and shape cool. and things like that. So really, as image search, as image recognition gets further along, so will the ability to do the type of indexing that you're talking about. So we're very excited about that. I would say when you look at some of these very academic, exploratory topics, it seems like voice to text, actually being able to recognize an audio stream and see what's in it, is slightly further along than, say, image recognition. And of course, you need image recognition in order to do recognition inside of videos. But there's good progress being made both in academia and at Google on both of these. And Google Goggles is really the first indication of something that's consumer ready to be deployed. And so right now it's available on the Android marketplace as a beta you can try out.
So the Android marketplace. By the way, the Google phone? I think I did actually, wrote a story about the Google phone. Is a Google-only branded phone that is launching in January. You showed it to me backstage. You did not show it to me backstage. You haven't. I think you said your phone is an iPhone, is what you're using now. But can you tell us everything about this Google phone that you're launching early next year?
I can't comment on speculation.
Okay. That's what you said you were going to answer to that question. How about this one? Searches, mobile searches, clearly becoming more and more important on your iPhone or my Droid. What percentage of total searches on Google are done on a mobile device today?
Well, we don't release specific numbers. I will say that it's grown considerably in this last year with the onset of smartphones. It's about double this year what it was last year in terms of overall, not only overall numbers, but the percentage of overall searches.
And we're talking about, what, 1 to 5%? It's somewhere in that ballpark?
It's close. It might be slightly higher than that.
It might be slightly higher?
Slightly higher.
Okay, great. Let's talk about Chrome and Chrome OS. Do you mind if I bucket them together? Because I think a lot of, So, last year we talked about this, and I think at LeWeb, was it at LeWeb you announced it was coming out of beta? Chrome.
That's right, it was that day.
It's taken you until now to get the Mac version out properly into beta. What comes next with Chrome and Chrome OS, and are we going to see devices soon in the retail marketplace that have, that are running Chrome, the operating system?
Well, so we had a really exciting announcement yesterday with Chrome, where we released the Mac and Linux betas as well as the Chrome extensions. So this works much like Firefox extensions, where you can actually build onto the browser and extend it in interesting ways. And we think that will cause all kinds of interesting things to happen in the ecosystem around Chrome. So our focus on Chrome as a browser is really around the user experience. How do we make that better? How do we keep it lean and trim, but also really help users browse the web faster, more efficiently, looking at things like the new tab page. How can we continue to improve on that? And Chrome OS, they had their press conference update a few weeks ago. And so the devices, I think, are still a ways away. That said, that they have been making good progress overall on building this anti-operating system, as Larry likes to call it, because basically it's an operating system that's a browser that doesn't feel like an operating system.
With Chrome, the browser, do you guys track downloads, or do you track updates? Do you have any way of knowing how many people are using it, and is that something that you'd be willing to share with us?
Sure. So we do keep track of users, and we see in particular 7-day actives. That's one of the metrics that we goal ourselves on. And we don't release, again, specific numbers, but I will say that there are tens of millions of Chrome users, and we're really excited about its overall growth.
Yeah. How many people in the audience? Have used Chrome? At least tried it out? That's a lot of people. And keep your hand up if it's your main browser today. At TechCrunch, right? Okay. It's Robin? Yeah. That's great. Yeah. So I'm a Mac, so
Well, no, you can. I will say, I find the thing that's really stunning about it is speed. Because a lot of times in the user experience, speed isn't really an articulatable attribute. People, speed affects your decisions, but not explicitly. But I will say, especially because of all of our work on the website, I had to try, i.e. Firefox, Chrome, I had to try Safari, I had to use all the other browsers. And I do find if I end up getting stuck on one of those other browsers, for more than a few actions, I do get really impatient just because Chrome is so fast.
What's your favorite browser other than Chrome? Safari?
I do like Safari. I think that it's not new anymore, but I really do like. They really sort of pioneered in the Chrome search box and the jump back and things, and I think that was really nicely done. But that said, IE, just because of its predominance in the market, is something that you just have to pay attention to.
Yep. Okay, so I want to talk about news, if that's okay.
Sure.
And it's a subject that we have collectively been beating on for a while. I think we all understand the dire situation of the print news media in general. What I'd like to talk to you about is how to fix this. And Eric Schmidt talked a little bit about his vision of the future there was a Wall Street Journal last week. Can you talk to me about how you see the future of news in a way that will work for everyone?
Sure. Well, we brainstormed about this a little bit, and a lot of this has to do, we think, with how do you get users more engaged with news online. Because if you can increase the engagement, that's really when we can move towards for-pay models or even more lucrative advertising models. And I think when you say, well, if we invented news, at least as a delivery vehicle for journalism, right? The core journalism stays the same, and then we just say, how does it get delivered for the web from scratch? And we like to ask questions like that. Google Wave did the same thing. What if you reinvented email today? If you reinvented online news and built it from scratch, I think it would look very different than what we have. Yesterday, we released a prototype we've been working on with the New York Times and the Washington Post, which is called The Living Story. Right? Up until now, a lot of online news has been the article that appeared in the print paper, put on a web page, and just shown there with a different Chrome. Right? What if a story was alive and you could actually add updates to it, come back to it? You, as a reader, if you had read an article, would get an alert on it if there had been something added to it and if you were interested enough in it. And so I basically think that whenever a media changes over to a new delivery vehicle, it puts pressure on the atomic unit of consumption. This happened with iTunes. It went from being the album to being the song. This happened with YouTube.